Hello, and welcome again to another one of my, I guess you could say, delightful podcasts. I haven't been doing much this past week, except maybe working, though I have been finding some other interests. I'll discuss a little bit about the structure of a story. I've been kind of studying that for a while, actually for a long time. And I've also been looking into this little thing about Red Hat, the company who has one of the biggest Linux distros in the world. But yeah, here let's first talk about the story stuff. Now, for any good story, I think it needs to have structuring. I think it needs to have steps to it. It needs to have I want to say phases, but that's not it. But yeah, steps will do fine. So usually what it has something at first. It with starts out with something to set the scene. Then it usually has a rising action. Then it has a climax, which usually goes into, say, a denouement or, say, a falling action, and then all the loose ends are tied up. Don't know much about good stories. I do know there are some stories that I like. And so that would... Oh, Christ. I knew I should have looked some of these up. Well, let's see here. What should I talk about? What would be a good... I mean, there are so many good stories in the world. I mean, you could look at the... How about the Star Wars movies? At least A New Hope, that looks pretty good. You know, it sets the scene where they're on Tatooine, and then we meet up with Luke, Han, Leia, and all those characters, and then we learn more about Luke, how he's, training and all that stuff, but also how Leia is trying to, get back to the rebellion, and a number of other things are happening. And so the tension, it builds and builds until the climax with, the fight on the Death Star, and with Luke. Anyway, with Luke, and how he does the final blow to the Death Star and, kills thousands of people on that. But anyway, yeah, it's then wrapped up in a nice little bow, which sets the scene for The Empire Strikes Back and what have you. Yeah, I kind of like that. But what would be something... What would be... Here, give me a second. Here, I have something else here. That sounded weird. Anyway, I have something here that where is it? Oh, here we go. That I wrote a while ago. This poem that I wrote a while ago, which almost sets the scene like that. Or at least I hope it does. It goes something like this. It's what I like to call two bagels in a bag. Sounds a little odd, but you'll understand it in a minute. Let's see. Okay. The baker I visited to get some great tasting things. The bake shop I regret had some terrible meetings. Cookies, pastries, croissants, selling, baking, filling their wants. The baker, now grieving, slowly spoke this to me. I only have two bagels in a bag. There are none left for you. Those two you cannot have, so what am I to do? The baker cried to me with a quivering voice. The baked goods had aptly snuffed out the baker's noise. Townspeople took the goods, stuffed loose food in their bags, and so did scarf down everything. The baker gazed, beginning to speak, his eyes all glazed with pale, rough cheeks. Not 5 cakes were bought, but also 4 rolls. 3 bagels were sought with some nice donut holes. Few pastries were spared, some muffins left alone, for not one person cared for bread-flavored limestone. My trip to the bake stop was now something worse. A wonderful pit stop jerked into reverse. Why are the bagels out of the picture? Surely the baked goods can be baked much quicker. Pointing so slowly to the barren shelves, the baker muttered coolly, "There's none for ourselves." So now my next action was out of desperation. While I had little fashion, I learned the baking vocation. "Why are you doing this?" blurted out the baker. My cupboards are abyss. There is no room for flavor. Baking isn't that hard for humble men like me. I've cooked rice in my yard, so this should be easy. I burnt rice. For what gives me ignorance? Not knowing. The glut of will breeds brilliance. We could not find flour, let alone some salt, so within the hour we hit the asphalt. I glanced in the pantry, gave us little hope. Further search greatly increased our baked goods scope. Inside a small barrel we found sugar, salt, and even some flour. Now on to the baking assault. In went the flour, next was the salt, a poof of baking powder locked in the doughy vault. Up came the sleepy yeast for a sticky endeavor. The awake yeast now feast on starch or whatever. A bagel is what we need to soon please us. We hope to soon greet our empty stomach bus. Roll, roll, scope the dough, be sure to let it rise. While this part is slow, keep your eye on the prize. Finally the dough rose, and into the hot bath, stripping the bagel goes on the cooling path. Carefully each bagel lays. Oh, I could playfully butter them for days. Our eager niece was strong for the bakery marbles. I did not wait all day long to now lose my marbles. At once we ate the goods, and they did fill my day. But what about the foods? Why were some stored away? Putting down his bagel, he mustered up the words. Starting to speak, I felt this would be jarring and disheartening. My loved one and I met over this dough. Bagels and Jewish rye were our lovely meadow. Connections over bread are usually fast. Your feet over your head, a love that does not last. But our love broke the crust. Love does take finagle, and so we built our trust over 2 bagels. We sat and feasted down on the floor tile. We laughed undefeated, then shared a smile. The bakery problem has come to an end. A story of cooking fun between 2 doughy friends. Yeah, now in that example right there, I first set it up where the guy, he's just going to the bakery to get his bagels, but then he finds out that there's no more. They've been sold or whatever. And so they have to go find these ingredients. However, or they can't seem to find it, and so they look around the shop, or even outside the shop, just to find this stuff. Luckily, they were able to find it in a barrel out back. I don't know about I guess the ingredients were the best, but anyway, they finally they bake the bagels, and then they eat them, or well, more of they share it. But he also, the narrator of it, he wondered why couldn't he have those 2 bagels. Well, you see, the bagels were actually for the baker and his loved one, for his girlfriend or something like that. So yeah, that's one thing I've been thinking about the structure of a story, and because I want to eventually make a video game which involves, well, it's not just story, but also procedurally generated stories or something like that. That one's probably a long time off, though, so yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that for a very long time. I gotta get a bunch of other stuff together. But anyway, someone who does have their stuff together is apparently Red Hat, because they've been doing pretty well over the past almost a year now. I think 8 or 9 months. Yeah, they were bought by IBM, and for a very large amount. I think about 33 or $34 billion. It's amazing. I don't entirely understand how a company like Red Hat, which is completely open, how they make this kind of money. And when I say open, I mean their product is open source. Let's see here. I've heard that I'm trying to remember. That their meetings the minutes of their meetings are even fairly open. So I'm wondering how the heck that they were able to do this. Now, one of the things they feature mainly is their OS, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. They mainly sell services to that, or they sell subscriptions to that. But it's not only that; they also sell things to accompany it. Yeah, I've been trying to remember. I mean, they've had a big push into the, shall we say, cloud space. So, for instance, in 2014, they moved into the cloud arena, I guess you'd say, they acquired CentOS, and so they have added that to, their product line. They have also been, excuse me, they also turned CentOS into this great thing, but more importantly, they have a bigger connection with their customer base and with their community. For you see, they not only utilize the improvements to CentOS from their customer base, but also they give back to the community, or so I have read. I'm trying to remember. Let's see here, what else? Because back in the day, GNU Linux, it wasn't really meant for the enterprise, but about 20 years ago, they were able to take some of the best parts of the OS and make it palatable for enterprises. Now, how they exactly did this, well, now that I really need to look more into. This is just some of the stuff. I've been interested in this, but I haven't really taken the time to look further into it, and I'll hope to do that. I hope to do that a little later. But anyway, this has been pretty much my entire interests for this week. But anyway, if any of this seems interesting, or if this looks remotely nice, maybe share this or like it, I guess. But otherwise, have a good one.